Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
And to the brave hearts listening out there, welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
Get ready for some real-time relationship woo and wisdom
from the front lines with occasional tantrums and tears
about how breaking rules, blurring boundaries, and tossing tradition can be catalysts for finding your truth.
Let's debunk the fairy tales we were told as children and create a new map for life.
Yes, Disney can go fuck itself.
If you're seeking permission to choose your own path,
freedom is the new F word, people,
and want to feel less alone along the way,
we got you. Please note, this is our side of the story. Our partners and metamors have their own individual experiences, and we do not speak for them.
Good morning, or not.
Good morning, friends.
Okay, brave hearts, just so you know what's happening today is that my dearest, beloved friend here is having a rough go of it. She is in real time a little wilted.
Mm-hmm. Going through some withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, is this what it's like to go through withdrawal? I don't really know.
Yeah. And the withdrawal is due to
a breakup. Yeah.
And so we're doing something a little different today, which is that I'm supporting Andrea as she supports me when we have moments of challenge. And for both of us, externally processing is a very useful way. I'm reflecting back to her what she's saying, what I'm hearing. And this is how both of us have found that we really grow. And so we are going to have this conversation in real time while we're recording so that the brave hearts can know what this is like for us and what we do. And we spent years doing this. We spend less time doing it now, but
we do. Yeah. And I think, in brave hearts, I guess anyone who's out there going through this kind of thing, just to know you're not alone. So I'm in what I would call withdrawal. And I'm not going to focus on the story, right? I have a whole section, this essay in my book where I talk about focusing on the felt sense instead of the story, which is a little bit hard for me as a storyteller, as a professional storyteller in life. I'm like, what do you mean let go of the story? The story is so fucking important. And I understand the value of letting go of the story. So Janelle, I'm going to ask you to make sure I stay in the felt sense. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go too much into the linear in the story.
Do we feel it like some background? Like if we're saying you're in a breakup, do you want to at least acknowledge which relationship?
Yeah, good idea. So this is with my boyfriend that I'm breaking up. We've been together for 6 years. It's a long distance relationship.
And that might be enough.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough for now.
Yeah.
I am so uncomfortable. Like I'm just in a periodical cycle of discomfort that is hard to even name or describe, but it's where nothing truly satiates me. I'm craving something and I'm not getting it. And I'm seeking. I go through the house, I open the fridge, I open the computer, nothing happens. There is something that my body, my being, my very human is craving and I'm not getting.
What you're not mentioning is aren't you craving your boyfriend?
I guess, I am, and I think of him a lot. But I also know that it's not totally specific to him. And that's the confusing part, is that I miss him, but I don't necessarily crave him or to talk to him. There is a space in my life that is confusing and empty, and I don't know what to do with myself. I don't even know. It doesn't even make sense.
Right. But what I'm hearing is that you're essentially like comfortable with the breakup like, this is the step you want to be doing. Like you're like, this is a yes, but there's a, like in your mind, this is the right path forward, but your body is like, really?
What are you doing to me?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think linearly it is the right thing. I think, and I am at the same time excited to see what is on the other side of this. But the idea of getting through this is terrifying.
Okay.
Mainly because I don't understand if it's going to last for 3 weeks or 9 months. That is really scary. It's like, how long am I going to be going through withdrawal and depressed?
Are you open to a question?
Okay, I'm ready.
So I hear you saying, is it going to be 3 weeks or is it going to be 9 months? Which are very like definitive timelines. And I'm also hearing in that expression that there's a feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be feeling this way for every moment of every day for either 3 weeks or 9 months. Do you think let's just take in the past 72 hours, have you had slivers, like a moment, a second, 30 seconds where you haven't felt this sense of withdrawal?
Yes, I have. I can distract myself. I think in this situation, I am fortunate because I sometimes complain about the idea of having a witness when I'm like, oh my God, could I just be in the house alone? Like, I just want to be alone because someone else, my family is witnessing me. And this is where a witness is helpful, right? Mm-hmm. Because if I didn't have the witnesses, if I didn't need to get up and make breakfast for my child, if I didn't need to put the laundry in, right now, I would just be laying on the couch.
Okay. So if you were home alone right now, you recognize the feelings of withdrawal would probably overtake you and overtake your life.
Yeah. And you're right. The feeling is not constant. Like I get breaks from it when I forget and then I come back. I forget and I come back.
Okay.
So it's not constant. I know it's not constant. And something else I'll say is that I know now, because I've gone through this before in little bits with him.
You've gone through what before?
I've gone through short breakups.
Okay.
Where I've gone into a panic and very uncomfortable, crying, a lot of discomfort. There is a difference this time because I'm backing way up. Like somehow I have the ability to back way up and look at myself and be more aware of the choices I'm making. So I'll explain that. I know and I'm conscious of, and I can actually make a choice to go down a rabbit hole of sentimentality, remembering, like going back, reminiscing, hearing songs, really getting into the felt sense of what I'm missing with him. But I know I can choose to do that and I don't have to do that. So it's almost an exercise in, okay, I'm going to let myself do that now. Maybe once a day, maybe once a week, maybe once an hour, depending on the time period. But that's a choice rather than just I just fell off the cliff.
Okay. So that feels different.
Yes, it does feel different. And let me just explore that cliff analogy. It feels like before I would just fall on purpose. And it was like I was choosing to do it before, but that was my choice. Like, yes, I'm going to fall into this tar pit of sadness and sobbing and, really big discomfort and thinking about him. And where now I see that choice and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. That's kind of a waste of time. Sometimes I want to do it. I want to feel all the feels, but it's much more of it's the same choice and I'm not making that choice.
What you just said, I want to feel all the feels, and we're big advocates for feeling all the feels. So
that's true.
Are you saying that feeling all the feels is good, but feeling all the feels all the time, when you have a choice, it may not be? what you'd recommend.
That is true. The other difference I see now is that I do miss him, but I also miss the idea of him. And I miss the way that he made me feel.
You felt with him?
Yes, how I felt when I was with him. And this is what I want to dissect, because I mean, if it's not him and it's just how he makes me feel, we could say that about any partner. So is it really ever the person, or is it just how they make you feel?
Well, and I would say, just like when you're saying it's how they make me feel, right? That if we take it out of the context of this breakup, is we say, oh, someone did something that, and I got triggered, but I have to take responsibility of this. I have to take responsibility for my response.
Yep.
Right? It's not that they did something and they made me cry. It's they did something. Oh, and my response is that I'm crying. So
I get that. And you're applying it to this.
Yes. Because what I've heard you say twice now is he made me feel. And I'm saying you felt this way.
I have to take responsibility for feeling that way and not say, oh, it's because of him.
Right. So.
No, I can't do that. You're fucking crazy. Like, I get that, but.
And I'm not, in saying that, I'm not taking away the beauty and the powerful and profound connection the two of you had. Like, I'm not taking anything away from that or taking anything away from him.
That's helpful.
But what I am saying is that feeling, it lives inside of you and can be activated anytime you feel that way. And I get that, okay, here's a person that helps activate it, but it lives inside. It doesn't go away because he goes away.
Yeah, because I'm the source.
You're the source. Yeah. And in this way, I really believe you will be able to feel this way and more. I'm not like saying, oh, you're going to find someone to replace this. Like that's not the point here. It's that there is a feeling that you are craving that lives inside of you. And that feeling is not a one and done. It's like, it's always there. It's just, when does it become accessed?
So you're saying it's hiding? Like I can't access it right now? Why can't I access it right now?
Let me think about that. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's hiding? I do think there's a part of you that is putting the source of that feeling and the permission for that feeling outside of you. So you're giving the power of that feeling to him. Can you put words to the feeling? What is it that you really want?
Wow. So for part of it for sure is the caretaking, being held in time and space. Like you're like held, like physically, like held in a hug, and or being held, like what does being held mean? Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being held mentally, emotionally, physically, even spiritually.
Okay. That's a powerful feeling.
That's one thing that I don't have and I want. The other, this is pretty abstract and physical, is being compressed, being squeezed, like having that physical overtake, the physical dominance, and actually being pushed down, right? Mm-hmm. Both physically and, I don't know how to describe it, but it's actually the feminine is what it is, right? It is the traditional, I don't know how to describe this, traditional feminine of just being set aside and being dominated.
I don't know that that's exactly how I would describe that, the traditional feminine.
Yeah, maybe not. But to me, that's the
being set aside.
Yeah. So what I realized about this person in my life is that I was in my masculine in a big way for a long time.
In your marriage?
In my marriage, in my everyday life, I was very much in my masculine.
In charge.
Yeah. Dominating, aggressive. Yes. We're doing it this way. That's just my mode. And I was seeking to be in the feminine. When I visited my boyfriend, I would go and be in the feminine. I was not in charge. There was no expectation on me. I did not need to be ambitious. I didn't make the decisions. I didn't drive. And I loved that. And I loved being in that. And that's what I'm talking about with this compression. It does feel compression, suppression, like I was being pushed down, and I liked being pushed down. I wanted to be dominated. I could fight back a little bit when I wanted, but mostly I didn't have to fight back. I knew I was safe, and I knew that I didn't have to do anything.
Okay. And so in some ways, and there's terminology like a dominant, like dom sub situation,
sure,
dynamic, but that it's this idea that you are fully surrendered. You trusted him and felt safe with him, so you could surrender your beingness to him.
Well put. Yes. I think I like the word surrender. I could fully surrender. And part of the reason that we needed to separate was that I needed to come back into balance with my feminine and masculine. My masculine was coming back up for air because it's like, oh, we have a balance now. Great. I can come back to the party. And the masculine wanted to come back, and I didn't know how to be in my masculine with him. And he also didn't know what to do with my masculine, because he wasn't used to seeing it or being around it. It was not part of a balance of the masculine and feminine was not part of the dynamic we had created.
Okay. And what I'm hearing, and I relate to this in my own way of having gone from also 40 years of being in my masculine, and then in my relationship and in my spiritual journey, doing this like, you can't see me, brave hearts, but I'm like turning two wheels that are painfully in friction until same thing. I ended up going fully into a surrendered state of my feminine. But then recognizing, oh, okay, I can't actually function in the world if I don't have any structure to myself. Like I needed to have some sort of container that's within me. It's not. And what I'm hearing with you is that during your journey, right, with him, you are able to activate your feminine, feel your feminine, embrace your feminine,
yes,
love your feminine, which you had not done prior to this relationship.
Not fully.
And that during this relationship and all the other work that you've done and all the other things that you've experienced, that you now have integrated your feminine and realize that the relationship of the feminine and the masculine and the integration of the two of them within you, which is my belief within all of us, and that this is part of what we're trying to do as a culture is honor for in male bodies, the feminine and the masculine within them. And then for female bodies, the feminine and the masculine within us. And then operate in the world from that point. And what I'm hearing is you've done an incredible amount of work to get to that point of feeling balanced within yourself. But now there's a learning of actually like expressing that now with the world, like of how do you operate in the world and with who do you engage with as an integrated
correct
human.
That is correct. And I'll add that it's something to manage, right? My feminine and masculine. I'd say it is not a chore, but it's something I'm more aware of. And so two things happened really across the last 6 years. I was able to go totally into my feminine and be like, oh, this is my feminine. This feels good. I am not in charge. Someone else is taking care of me. someone else is showing me off. I am in the ultra far end of feminine. Like I was being admired and like worshipped in a different way and being taken care of, and just really was able to sink into that feminine. And that matched the extreme of my masculine at home. So over the course of time, probably over the course of the last 3 years, I embraced that feminine, felt good in it, and then realized I was imbalanced and I needed my masculine to come back online, which I did. But what also happened was at home, I also came into my feminine. So I became balanced at home as well. Part of that was due to Costa Rica, where I just came into softness, less passive aggression, less dominance.
More spaciousness.
More spaciousness, yes. And also repairing the dynamic with my husband. So I came into balance at home, and I needed to come into balance in this relationship. And I found I didn't know how to do that.
And ultimately, that's the reason for the breakup, because you can't, now that you're in balance, it doesn't feel true to you to be out of balance.
Correct. And I would say it's one reason for the breakup.
Okay.
It's definitely not the full.
Yeah.
But that is definitely something that's changed in our relationship.
And I just want to touch on what I'm hearing is that with your boyfriend, you were taken care of, you were worshiped, you felt like you were being shown off, you were not having to be responsible for anything. And now you trust your masculine to do that for your own feminine.
No, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I think I would still crave to be in that far feminine sometimes. It's just that when I'm there for too long, I realize I'm abandoning my own masculine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point to make, is that in living and advocating for balance of these two energies, it's not that, oh, here we are going along on the yellow line, like, right? Like we're like walking along the yellow line on the road all the time. It's that, oh, sometimes I'm really far to the right. Sometimes I'm really far to the left. Sometimes I'm really in my masculine. Sometimes I'm really in my feminine. But the average, I get to, like, they live on the yellow line.
Yep.
Overall. Like, but the extreme of fully surrendering and fully being in dominance are very much a necessary part of the experience.
Yes.
To feel alive and not like flat into nothingness.
Yes. Yeah, correct. So ultimately, I am uncomfortable now because I don't have that extreme feminine. I'm not feeling that compression. I'm not feeling that dominance. I know how to get to the feminine myself, but it's a little different flavor. And I ultimately know that discomfort leads to growth. That is how I know that I have to get through this period of discomfort. And I know this is going to change potentially every day. It's going to be a little bit different. And I am literally excited to get to the other side and see, oh, what is it going to feel like after I suffer through this discomfort?
Okay, let's talk about compression. It's an interesting synonym that you're using. You're using like the feminine and compression. You're relating those two words. So tell me more about the physical sense of compression. Like, what is it that your body is craving with compression?
So what I'm craving manifests in two different, let's call them two different cravings. One is the compression. This is the squeezing. We've touched on this before with emotional release tools, where I want someone to push against me, squeeze me, keep me down.
So by keeping you down, I'm just envisioning you like you're on a bed and someone is like on top of you, either with their arms or with their body, and like putting their full weight on you.
Yes, except I want to be able to push back.
Okay.
And they're pushing at the same time. So I can't be completely helpless.
Right. You don't want to be pinned down, but because you want to feel the pressure of your pushing in your body against something.
Yes.
It's part of the release.
It is part of the release. And I can do that standing up and someone pushing against me. I can do it with someone hugging me and them hugging me and me pushing against, like this friction, kind of the shaking. I can also do it with, in bed spooning with someone behind me and I'm struggling. Like I long for I've called it sex wrestling. Basically, it's just it's a way actually for me to get endorphins and feel this high from the struggle, from the pressing against. And this is it's an odd thing that I've discovered that I love to do and need to feel. So that is the first part, this compression. You have more questions about that?
Well, one thing I've heard you say this before, so I just want to point this out, is we've talked about, couldn't you push against a wall? And you were like, no, that doesn't work. There's something about being in interaction with another human.
Yeah. It needs to be a live action person pushing against me. And it has to be just the right frequency. Like if I'm pushed against too hard, then I'm motionless and I don't want that. And if there's not enough resistance, then it's like I'm too much in my feminine, I'm too much in my masculine. I need to be somewhere right in the middle. Maybe that is a new way to describe it.
Okay.
So that's one way it manifests. The other way is I've realized is that I don't know how to describe this. I forget what it's called.
Oral fixation.
That's it. Why can't I think of that phrase? I've been saying it my whole life. Yeah, I'm totally orally fixated. This is not a surprise. I still bite my nails. I sucked my thumb. I like to talk. It's not surprising. Thank God I've never gotten addicted to smoking. But yes. Do I like a nice cigarette when I was really drunk when I was 25? Yes. So I have this oral fixation and I want something in my mouth. I love kissing. I could kiss for hours. I am thinking, okay, should I take up smoking again? I like to suck on a thumb, mine or a lover's. How can I get this? And I look to food for some kind of satiation and it totally doesn't work for me. I wish it did. Alcohol also completely unhelpful for me, even though that is also like a drinking motion with my mouth. So it's a very strong craving that I feel a lot of the time and I don't know how to satiate. I could also smoke, I could vape weed, that's not that big a deal, right? Just smoking weed, but that's not something that you continuously do. It's just like one or two and then you're done. So it doesn't really work. So yeah, so I need a safe way to get my oral fixation.
All right, brave hearts.
Any suggestions? I picked up a couple of packs of Starburst yesterday as it's the safest thing for me to do.
Is there someone you can just kiss? Is there any mouth you could kiss? Do you want to just be kissing me?
Yeah, I don't know. We could try that. Maybe we should try that when we're done. And of course, yeah, I could kiss my husband. And so I'm not sure how that would work, but not that I know how it would work, but I don't know if it would satisfy or satiate, but it might.
Okay. So I do have a question. Today, I'm genuinely offering my mouth to you.
Yeah. And I so appreciate that.
Well, my question is, do you think, at least for the moment of this withdrawal time, right? I don't hear you saying that you're looking for another partner.
I am not.
That's not how you're going to fill this craving. So my question is, or meet this craving, is this neutral third party? Okay, here's a mouth that's available. Let me just try kissing that for a while. If you were to hug Memphis, right, who's a really big guy, and he's really strong.
Yeah.
And he's a neutral person.
Yeah, neutral party.
Neutral party. And so there's an emotional connection that you're friends with these people, but that they can just provide the physicality of what you're craving. Would that help your withdrawal symptoms?
Maybe. And I think there's a potential solution. What I realized as you were talking was that, I can get this from my husband, or like, he could do it for me. It's almost like, because I do love him and he's awesome and in lots of ways. And he just sits in this completely different bucket than my boyfriend does. And it's got its own amazing things, but it's different. That I think it does have to be a neutral party. It can't be someone who I also love in a different way.
Yeah, or that you're also like sexually intimate with.
Yeah, exactly. It can't be that. And that's why I think you're right that a neutral party, who I trust and know and am connected to him at an emotional, friend level, could maybe do this. So I think that's possible. And I would like to explore that. So that's one thing.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we've got some ideas on how to handle this physical discomfort of craving and withdrawal in your system. My question to you is, do you feel this relationship is over with your boyfriend?
No, I think it is over for now. Partially because I think of him as my twin flame and my soul mirror. I feel like it is never completely over. And I realize there's part of me that thinks, oh, am I just saying that because I just don't want to let him go? Or am I saying that because I just know that that's not how this particular relationship works? I do feel now like I will love him until I am no longer conscious. And I will feel soul connected to him until then as well. But I also know and believe that twin flames are not meant to be together at every stage of their life. And I feel like this has to be a time where we separate and go do the work by ourselves. Now, stranger things have happened, right? There could be a time when I'm just like, no, I'm done. It is over. But I can't imagine that right now.
So I have a question in this definition of over. What I'm hearing you say is that you're going to love him for the rest of your life. Do you think it's possible to love him for the rest of your life and not talk to him or see him ever again, but just wish him well?
For sure. Yeah, that's possible. That may happen. Maybe I'll never see him again.
Right.
And maybe I will.
Right. But so in that way, it feels like to me, it's not over. So when you're saying it's not over, in this moment, are you saying you will see him again? Or are you just simply saying you're going to love him forever? And so it's not over because you're going to love him forever. But how that love expresses in actuality, whether through talking, seeing each other, being intimate or not, that is the unknown.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so, I think my definition of it not being over is that I will always love him, will always feel so connected to him. I feel like we were twins in a previous life. We will always be connected. And I also believe I will never feel the same with anyone else. Even though I may feel different, it may feel better and different in some ways, but I feel like it'll never be the same. This is something that I spoke with our friend last night about. She's like, oh, I'm sure I feel the same again. And I'm just like, oh, I won't. I'm sure I won't. But it'll be different. And that's okay.
Don't you think it's going to be different because you're different? In my opinion, it will never be the same because you will never be fully surrendered in your feminine again. So of course you're never going to be the same. So that feeling that you guys had is not possible for you ever again because you've integrated.
No, I totally don't believe that. I'm like, I want to be surrendered fully in my feminine again.
I get it.
Periods of time.
Right.
Maybe it's over 2 hours or maybe 2 days.
Yes. So in that regard, that's possible, but that's not possible with him. The way that you did it, which was for days and days on a time, you just fully surrendered every time you saw him for years. That is not a version of you that exists anymore.
I don't know about that. To me, I'm like, no, I could go do that for a day.
That's great. That's fine. You could do that for a day with him right now. And you're saying you can't.
I'm saying I can't because I know that I will not break up and I will not leave him again because it's too hard. I can go and do that for a day right now. It feels really good. Feels awesome. But if I do it for 3 or 4 days, it's not good. So if I could just go and be with him in these for very short periods and feel and be seen and be in that deep feminine and just be swimming and surrendering in it, I would. But I know for my own sanity and health and personal growth that I can't do that because I can't do it. I will just end up doing it for 3 or 4 days and then be miserable.
So tell me more about your fears. Like right now, as we're talking about this, how are we doing?
Right. I've broken down in tears like a lot in the last 72 hours, just randomly. And I'm not right now, which is just good, or which is something to note. Yes, I am afraid of all the suffering and lack of productivity that is ahead of me. That is probably number one. I am afraid of the feeling of being lost, which is pretty permeating for me right now. I am afraid of never seeing him again. Yeah, and I fear for I have compassion for him. I guess I'm not afraid, but I feel for his emotional state and his heart. And love is greater than fear. And what I'm trying to come into now is to overcome this fear is that I need some new things going on in my life, right? I need a new ritual. I need a new morning routine. I need a new playlist in the worst way. And I remember thinking as we were together, like, oh, so many songs are associated with him, which makes listening to music challenging.
Wow. Yeah. I bet you that there's a lot of people who that is a part of navigating a breakup, which is, oh my gosh, like how to listen to music again and what to listen to would be a real challenge. It's not something that I experienced since I don't associate that as much. And movies and culture and like all the things, like going through life in the pop culture way that you do.
Right. It's so much less now, but yes, I mean.
But your relationship really.
To it. Yes, it's very strong. And my relationship with him was very tied to it. Yeah. And that's okay. Even as I talk about it though, it's fine. Yeah, there'll be some things that I can listen to a lot still and some things that I will just not listen to. And that's fine. I'm always finding new music, although he was often the facilitator of that. But
well, I know Spotify has like what's new this week playlist.
I'm sure it does. And I have just discovered Noah Kahn, a musician that Noah Kahn and Houndmouth. And I've just heard on a TV show this old song by Laura Branigan called Gloria. I'm sure you've heard it. Like, Gloria. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is my new exciting song. Like I heard it on the TV show and I was like, I'm going to put that on my running playlist. And then I did that and now I like blast it in the car and I'm like so happy. So it's definitely like uplifting me, right? And I'm like, I don't know, 1982 or something. I don't know. So you never know when I can find old shit and like bring it back into my consciousness. So I'm doing that. But I do need a new ritual in the morning.
What did you do before?
So let's see. I remember when I first went to my yoga training, it was like 10 years ago. And we're all going around the circle and they're like, what do you guys do in the morning? Like, and people were talking about, oh, well, there's just something about cutting the strawberries. And then I sit outside and then I do my breathing and I would do a couple yoga poses. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I like get up and that's it. So clueless. Like I did not understand this idea at all. So, and even then I was just like, okay, like I didn't even get a ritual then. I don't know when I started getting a ritual. It was probably more like 5 years ago. So I've had different rituals now. And then the last couple of years, I would say it was a mixture of meditating, writing my gratitude journal, every day. I would sometimes also like write a smiley face or, like how was my mood, just tracking my mood. And I've sometimes read my little crappy souvenir Eckhart Tolle book that was from some retreat that I picked up in some Airbnb that definitely soothed me. And sometimes I would do the Wim Hof breathing exercises, just like a half an hour of basically getting high from holding your breath and breathing. So a mixture of those, running every other day, and then journaling. And I've noticed recently, really in the past 3 months, that I'm not doing the gratitude journal anymore. I'm not interested. I start to journal and it's like my hand is not strong enough to write. It's so weird. I just start to write and my hand just like trails away. It's almost like this physical resistance to journaling. So I'm like, nope, I've done enough of this. I don't need to process any more shit. It's time for action. So now I need to find a new ritual, even if it's short, to have in the mornings when I'm not running.
How long do you run for?
I only run for like 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then I typically come back and ideally I'd have a ritual in the mornings when I don't run that could be 30 minutes to an hour. And then when I do run, I would have a short one after.
Okay. Well, why don't we brainstorm that right now?
Okay.
So one thing I've heard you say in the past is that the Wim Hof breathing has been really impactful for you.
Yeah, that's true. I love it. I love his voice. I love the music. I love the whole thing.
So what I'm hearing is that you have a 30-minute ritual of running every other day. What about doing on the other days a 30-minute breathing?
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, as we're brainstorming this, like we don't know how long a ritual is going to last, but this is just like, well, what if you try this for a month and see how it goes? So that's one idea. And I know for me, like contemplation of something has been really useful. And we haven't talked about these. I'm not a tarot reader, but I did get my first tarot deck. I also have oracle cards that have started to resonate. And this is not a practice that I do every day, but I have found it to be very useful. And there's times I've been really called to it. So what if you found a deck, whether tarot or oracle, that really resonated for you? And after each of these, like after breathing and or after running, you pull a card and just sit and contemplate the card. Light a candle. You could also like light some sage or Palo Santo, like a scent, like bring scent in. I do find that bringing in other senses. Mm-hmm. So to me, your breathing and your running are similar and that they are the physical part of things.
Yeah, you're right. I get endorphins from both. Yeah.
And then there could be a scent piece of whether it's a scented candle or whether it's a Palo Santo or a sage or whatever other thing you like. I can give you some frankincense from Egypt that I find to be really potent. And then, yeah, like a reading or contemplation. It could be an oracle card. It could be reading a poem of Rumi or from the Radiant Sutras and like opening up to a page and just, it's like a tantric text and like contemplating that. That could be another idea. Something that also brings in beauty. How are any of those resonating?
Yes. So I like the idea of pulling a card and contemplating it. I have a literary witches deck that is good for writing prompts. So I'm going to look at that. I'll take your old tarot and see if those speak to me. I can see pulling a card, lighting a candle. And yeah, the scent thing is not something I don't embrace, or I don't light a candle or like smell that candle. That could be really good.
An experiment.
Yeah. And I usually have my hot coffee. The weather's starting to get colder. I go out and sit. I turn the heater on, right? I'm like in my coat and my hat. And that cold wakes me up in this fun way that I look forward to now as, fall and winter are coming.
And so also ritualizing your coffee. It sounds like you already have, but even maybe bringing an even greater intention and maybe doing a mantra with making the coffee. It's just like I do the cacao, but I sing my mantra during the cacao making, that maybe as you're making your coffee, you're just, whether it's a mantra or whether it's just like slowing down to really see the process of pouring the water in and
being present for the process.
Yeah.
And I think incorporating one song into that ritual makes sense. Turning Wake by Eileen Rio was definitely my song for the last year and a half. I mean, I hear it and it makes me think of running on the beach in Costa Rica and the transformation. So I feel like I need another song that is about moving forward and maybe thinking about that mantra.
So I'd love to try an experiment with you. All right. And Brave Hearts listening, you could follow along in this experiment. I did a ritual when I was in Finland at the Feminine Mysteries retreat, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but there's a recognition that we all have voices in our heads that are talking to us all the time. And oftentimes these voices are negative, and they could be putting us down. They could be doubting us. They could be making us wrong. They could tell us that we're incapable. And I believe that beneath them, there's actually a protector part that is just really wanting to be in control and making sure we feel safe. But that these voices are actually coming from fear. And so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and feel into the voices that are very familiar, right? These are voices that talk to us all of the time. And so in this case for you, in this breakup, in this withdrawal, right? I'm hearing you say, it's so hard. I don't have the capacity. This is so uncomfortable. I'm not going to survive the craving. I'm going to fall back into a pattern or a habit or call him or whatever. And so is there something you would say that you could say to yourself in the moment when you bring awareness to those voices that is a counter, is in response to, that's in the affirmative? And so for example, my voice can be very doubting and doubting my capabilities and telling me that I'm wrong. And so my mantra, my response to that is recognition that I'm trying to live this very, very open-hearted, loving life. And that I am, my mantra is that I'm a vessel of love. So as part of my cacao mantra. But so this mantra that I'm saying to these voices in particular, when I feel afraid of my capabilities and I feel afraid of am I going to do this right, is I beat my chest. Yes, I am love. Yes, I am love. And I have found that I'm doing that when I hear the voices it's voices, or it's actually for me really a feeling of being afraid of anything. I was at Burning Man. I was climbing this huge tower. I was at the top. It was waving a little bit. There were people drunk were around me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel a little bit afraid. And I was like, yes, I am love. Yes, I am love. And I was in that moment, I felt like, okay, this feeling of discomfort is what I need to increase my capacity to withstand. And the more I can increase my capacity for discomfort, and the more I am love.
So for me, the vision I have is always now I go to, I believe I have to credit Elizabeth Gilbert with this vision. So I am driving and I'm in like, it's an old car. I don't really know where it came from. I'm driving and there's like a bench seat in the front, like it used to be. And there's a big seat in the back and all the voices are riding in the back. My mom is there. My doubt and my anxiety are all there, but they get to ride in the back. They don't get to sit up front and they don't get to drive. And sometimes I put them in the trunk. They don't like that at all. And they're very sneaky, as you mentioned, I think the other day. So what I would say is like, oh no, my voices are saying, Andrea, it's okay to need this. You can want this pleasure. You can have this pleasure. This pleasure is good for you. You can break down. It's just a little bit. It doesn't have to run your life. You can just have a little bit. It's okay to have a little bit. This is pretty strong as I even like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, yep, nope. I even believe that. I'm just like, it's okay to have a little bit. Fuck off. I need this. It feels really good to me. I need this escape. I need this little
hit, essentially.
It's a hit. Yeah. We used to say, I need a hit. I need a hit. Like, yeah, it's a fix. It's a hit. Like, no, it's okay for me to have this. It doesn't kill me. It doesn't hurt me.
Right. Like one day of being fully surrendered in my feminine wouldn't hurt me. It'd be fine.
Yes. I'd be okay. Like, and I can feel like the rise in my voice either there. I'm just like, come on. I get to have this once a month, one day. What's wrong with that? So that voice is pretty strong. I don't know if I can be strong on the other one too. So what's my response? It's like, first, what comes up is, no, not right now. That's all it is. Like, no, not now. Maybe later, but not right now.
Okay, great.
No, just you, Andrea. Just you. This makes me think of Romancing the Stone. Because there's a part in there where Kathleen Turner is like talking to this person in India. And she's like, my name's Joan Wilder. And he's like, okay, Joan Wilder. And she's like, no, just Joan. And he's like, okay, just Joan. I think of this every time. And I've been saying this for a long time as my mantra. No, just Andrea. No, just Andrea. And this goes with everything because like it's my constant need and seeking of the other. No, I have to get fed off other people. No, I have to talk to other people. No, I need to get that from him. I need to get this from her. And it also goes against being alone, right? No, just Andrea. No, just Andrea. And I also basically constantly say, it's okay. You'll be okay. It's okay. You'll be okay. It's just a self-soothing technique.
So I heard three things right there. And it's very possible you have three different versions of the voices. So one, you could say all three of those things, which is no,
not right now.
Not right now.
Just Andrea.
Just Andrea. And it's going to be okay. Feel into that. Feel if all three are necessary all the time. And if that's so like, we can just like practice that in this moment.
Yep. I think that not right now is the most. That doesn't really speak to who I am or what I'm doing, but it's important because there's something temporary about it that feels like I'm just accepting the right now. And I don't have to worry about the future, which is really important for me. And because you often say, and my friend Amanda says, like, we're a different person every day. And she'll remind me, I'm just like, yeah, but they're going to be, she's like, that's what's happening right now. We don't really know what's happening next year or tomorrow. And you will also say like, that's what's happening right now. But so not right now.
No. Do you want the no, or do you just want
no, not right now. Yeah, I think that's good.
So now I'm just going to do this with you for a moment. I want you to give voice, like speak out loud one of the voices in your head that's telling you, I'm going to be your soul responding for you.
Oh, but I just need a day, like just a day a month. Come on.
No, not right now.
I just need the fix. It's just a little bit of pleasure.
No, not right now.
I'm not a bad person for wanting this.
No, not right now.
Okay.
I'm so proud of you, friend.
So hard. It's really fucking hard.
I know. I see how hard it is. I feel how hard it is for you, and you're doing such a good job.
So hard.
I see you increasing your capacity for the discomfort.
So actually, we're going to end on a little up note. And I want to explain that I know this is different. There's an overwhelming feeling this time of separation that is different
from the other times you guys have broken up.
Yeah. And I'm so fearful of I'm so scared at the same time to say that because I don't want him to totally go away. But I'm saying it anyway because it does feel different. And I also know deep in my heart and soul and bones that I am the only answer to this. That just Andrea is truly the only answer. And I know that because the time I am satiated the most, when I feel the most joy, when I think, oh, everything is going to be okay, is either when I'm writing or when I am speaking, when I was a guest on a podcast last week. And I came out of that being like, whew, I'm good. And I know that is that is what has to come next for me and how I will be nourished and fulfilled, at least at this time in my life.
So what I'm hearing too then is that part of navigating the discomfort and the withdrawal symptoms is we've talked about compression. We've talked about satiating your mouth. And now it's also, how are you allocating the time? We also talked about a ritual in the morning to help you get on track, a new song, and kind of starting this new chapter. And this new chapter is every day, right? All you're doing is today is the day. In the present, in this moment.
Yep.
No, not right now is just about getting through today. And that this last piece that I'm hearing you say is that you know that just Andrea is joyful, thriving, and fulfilled when she's writing and speaking.
Expressing.
So how are you putting those elements into every day?
Yeah. And that is the challenge. I know I need to do that. And those things also have their anxiety that come along with them. So I'm not always drawn to them. And the other obstacle is just that, no, I'm just surviving right now and I want to go back to bed. And I don't want to go write or be productive.
So, and also honoring that part of you as well.
Right. And so that is the discernment. That's the biggest challenge, is knowing that those things will help and not being drawn to them all the time. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I know I need to do.
Right. But here you are. You're doing such a good job being human.
Thanks for my permission to be human. Thank you for listening to our external processing, Bravehearts.
Yes. Yeah. Do we have any homework? No homework. I think just listen and.
Yeah. Think about your ritual. Think about your ritual in the morning.
Yeah.
If it serves you, if you have one, if you need to change it up.
So I'll just make one note on that in terms of the homework. I had a conversation with a friend, Michael, about rituals, and for his men's groups, they speak about here's a very specific ritual that everyone comes up with, whatever there it is. It's at a certain time in the morning. It's a certain way. It always looks the same. Mm-hmm. It always happens. And that's the ritual. And my take for me on what I call like the feminine type of ritual is that I have cacao every morning. But that might be, and that's when I wake up ish. And I sing my mantra, sometimes internally, sometimes out loud. But the only thing that is consistent about my ritual is that cacao is present. Who is around, what time it happens, am I inside, what mug I'm using. But the ritual is steeped in pleasure. The cacao brings me so much pleasure. But the consistency and conformity of like how it looks is not.
Yeah. And you are a 7. I think this is, sorry. So what's your point about that? That it can be all these a different way. It doesn't have to look the same.
Yeah. And so like for like, if you're like, oh, like my ritual wants to happen at night, then I'm not advocating that it has to be in the morning. Or if we're talking about like, and we both talked about, it took us years to find a morning ritual. But that if you're someone who's like, I don't like doing the exact same thing every single day, which I am in like such strong resistance to, then give yourself the freedom to breathe within that, still create something for yourself and allow it to look the way that feels good to you. So if it being the exact same thing at the exact same time and you set your alarm and you do this thing, feels good to you, great. That's not the definition of a ritual. Is what I'm saying.
Very true. Go find your truth when it comes to ritual, always. And that is always what we're going to tell you. Like, our way may not be your way.
Yeah.
Freedom is the new F word, and feel free to do your ritual your way.
Okay.
Yay.
We did it.
Thank you, Janelle. Thank you for helping me through this. I love you.
I love you too. Can't wait to kiss you.
Do you need permission to be human? You got it. Listen, subscribe, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more about us at permissiontobehuman.live.